Nate.
Ernie.
I'm still amazing you, man.
I am amazed that you showed up this week.
Look, like 5. Just like 5 in a row.
I think this is.
I might just have to get into bracket racing, man. I'm getting pretty consistent.
You are getting pretty consistent. I'm very, very proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who have we got today?
We've got Tyler and his son on here today.
Tyler and his son.
Yeah.
So it's the pit crew chief and the driver, huh?
Chief and the driver. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Gentlemen, welcome on board today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate you making the trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Another one of the guys that I've lost to, we have on here today. So, although it was on a no prep, some prep race, so I don't really count it as a
It was a win.
Yeah, a win's a win, right?
Yeah.
Win is
It's
a
a win.
win.
Win is a win. You beat me fair and square.
That's right.
So, yeah, which I've always admitted when I lose. Like, I've never been one of those, like, well, it was blah, blah, blah.
Right,
It's
right.
like, yeah. And guys that want to crow about it, I'm like,
No need in it.
yeah.
If you lose, that means you just got to get better.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. I don't understand guys that just claim like a perfect track record. It's like, no, we all lose.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So, Tyler, what got you into this world of horrible financial decisions?
Starting into it young, I guess, just got me up and going. From street racing's not where it's at, I'm getting a lot of trouble. And thank God I never got in trouble. But
Was it your dad, or just you got into it in high school? Or?
No, my father, he had a race car, and once he got a divorce and lost it. But at the end of the day, that's where I wanted to be. It's a whole lot cheaper than drugs or getting into anything crazy. So
I don't know if it's cheaper. But it's less crazy.
well, if you get caught with the drugs, it costs you.
That's true.
So in the end, it might be cheaper to race.
That is very true. I haven't looked at it that way before.
And then with 5 kids, you'd rather do something legit than anything illegal.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think drag racing is where we're gonna stick.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision there.
It's a good family sport, man.
Yep.
I grew up at the track. My dad taking me out there. A lot of times he would be over with his buddies before I could really do anything with cars. I mean, anything mechanically. But me and my buddies, we'd just be all over the place. We'd be underneath the bleachers, be up by the start line, be all over the place. And basically, whenever if someone else's kid's by you, that's your kid until you see their parent again. I mean, that's just how I grew up at the track. I don't know about you guys.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know how many buddies. My daddy took me over with them whenever he took their son to get something from the snack thing. So, I mean,
That's how
that's
it
just
goes.
how it was,
Yeah.
man. It was a good place to grow up, and you got to see some really fast cars and something to aspire to have one day.
So what did your dad race?
Yeah, he had a '87 IROC Camaro, big tire car.
Okay.
Yeah, just bracket racing pretty much. And when I first got into this, he was not down for it. He said that grudge stuff will get you killed. At the end of the day, we're not grudging, but we're all out as a family. Having a good time.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I like bringing my son out.
Mhm.
My son's the main sport of it. He'll help anybody. I mean, anybody. He may do some talking,
Oh, that's
but a lot of people's got to avoid what he does. But as far as a man needing somebody to push his car back or steer his car back, he's always been there. We give him 100% pat on the back. There's not a day that goes by that he wouldn't help.
Yep.
And he never touch anybody's car as well.
Yeah.
We just don't go for that. If we lose, we take our losses and we go home. Enjoy everybody else's company, and we fix it and go from there. We'll be back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the one time I raced you at Rockingham, I ate a sandwich on the tree. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, and I lost. And this little guy comes up to me afterwards and just goes, "Were you eating a sandwich? What was wrong with you?" And I was like, "I've never talked to you before in my entire life. That's the first thing you say." And every time after that, he saw me at the track, he'd be like, "You plan on hitting your tree today? You plan on hitting your tree today? You gonna eat a sandwich today?" It's like,
but at the end of the day, it brings humor and it makes you think about it.
It does.
If I do wrong again, he's gonna be back.
I mean, every time I went up to that tree after, I was like, "I'll show that little shit."
You're like, if I ever draw him again, I've got to cut that tree, because if not, This little guy's gonna get me in my sleep.
Oh, I mean, next time I run him, he's going to see what a perfect reaction time is. It's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 right across the board.
Well, look, I live with him, and so I know as well. We went to Kinston, the 252 opening up. We had to draw. We draw Jenny.
I heard one of your teammates run that lady before.
Oh yeah.
So y'all got a running nemesis with that team, or
something like that. But it's okay. We'll get there. You know,
we might have to get her on the podcast.
You just might. But my son was telling me, go out there and get her, Dad. Well, I guess I was a little too anxious because I done a 002 red. And I'm telling you, I have heard every bits and pieces of it. Don't red light. Don't red light. I could have drove the car better. So if anybody else out there has heard this from my son on the talking, I've heard it as well, twice as many.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple changes to the car we've done, and it made it worse. There's a couple changes we've done, made it better. And with the one and main man there, which is my son, when it goes south, when it goes bad, and it goes south, I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't it right, son?
Yeah.
So what about, are you doing it just to motivate him to try and get him to do better?
Yeah.
Yeah. When are you going to get in the pilot's seat?
Whenever I get my car done.
We're working on one now.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you considered doing junior dragsters at all, or not really?
No.
Going in there beating up on the Tyson boys?
We hate getting into, there's no need in getting into the sport and the sport running out. We done wasted that money, I feel. Go ahead and get you into something, learning now, car-wise. And we got a 70 Camaro split bumper.
There you go.
And he wants to get into it a little bit, so we just about got it.
How old are you?
11.
11. Okay.
Just something he can pull in and out. We go to testing tunes and let him cruise down the return lane and get a feel for it.
Yeah.
That's how I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it becomes a family sport.
Mm-hmm.
I also have girls. The girls want to come as well. I don't feel as good about a girl going to the track as I do a boy, and it's just my judgment because you don't trust people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a daughter that wants to go every time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she'd be just as far into it as he would, or if not more. She'd be a little more conservative on the talking to people and how to talk to people, but
yeah, that's not as much fun.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's the other consideration you have to take in there is it costs a lot to build one race car, let alone two race cars, and if she wants to get into it, that's three race cars, and
Yeah.
My pockets aren't that deep. My pockets are barely deep enough for my race car.
That's 100%. But you will go above and beyond to do what you need to do for your kids.
Oh, yeah.
And if they wanted to do it, by all means, I'd step aside. I'd put it up, or I'd he wanted to jump in when it comes time. Let's go, drive it. Let me show you what them red lights and them eating sandwiches that trees are made of.
Yeah.
Because it's a little different from a pro tree to a bracket tree. Bracket tree, you wait for it to come down. A pro tree, you got to be on your game.
Yep.
Yeah, or if not, you're looking at someone else's taillights.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's not a good sign right to start with,
No, you're when you're reaching for the scramble button at 150 feet, you already know you got an uphill battle.
Yeah, speaking of scramble buttons, they're not we need to cut mine off because I've gotten some trouble with mine. It doesn't work,
Yeah, my tuner said I can put one on the car if I want to. He didn't say he was going to hook anything up to it.
Just make you feel better when you're mashing it.
Yeah, make me feel better.
Yeah, exactly. He said he's basically just going to make it so he knows whether I hit it or not. He's like, don't worry, it's already turned on. He's like, everything's already in it. He's like, I'm probably not going to give you any more on your scramble button. I was like, I think I should have some more.
Yeah, well, everybody says they should have more until they hit it and it goes south.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little incident in Rockingham. We won the race. And I got a little greedy with it. When you got competition that says that they can outrun you, I stayed in the car, and my guys doing what they do. They went over there and tried to talk with him a little bit, Things went south. We went and done what we had to do. I got a little greedy with it. Had him from the clear the whole time, and I grabbed that scramble. And the air temps weren't good.
Mm.
and it led me into the wall. We tore it up, and we had 3 weeks to put it back together before the King race. And shout out to BPF and Sean, Dorenzo Brown. There's a bunch of us. Corey helped us all get the car back together, and in 3 weeks we put the car back on the Kinston track and ran the exact same time.
Nice.
So with a car being totaled and put back together, it means a lot. Like I said, it takes family to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It also takes money.
Yeah.
Deep pockets.
I've had to do that before.
Well,
It hurts.
Fortunately, maybe I don't think your wife's one of the listeners yet. Maybe she might be hearing it afterwards.
Maybe hearing it afterwards.
Well,
Yeah. It was all sponsored, right?
yeah, it's all spot.
Yeah. Well, shout out to her, Misty. She puts forth a lot in it. With 5 kids, it is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be a lot of track time she comes, and there's few that she does, but there's far many coming. But shout out to her. It is a lot with our kids, but she wouldn't, expect anything less.
Mm-hmm.
She knows the ins and the outs, how much it costs. It costs a lot, for what we spend on our cars. All of us can agree we could have bought another house.
Mm-hmm.
From the changes to the goods, the bads, the brokes,
The learning curve.
the learning curves. But I stepped into this a little less than my other guys did. This turbo stuff. I was a nitrous guy. We built a 565 big block. We started out with that. I seen the turbo guys. I said, this thing's got to go for sale. We sold it, and I met Sean. He was going to tune it, and then it went from there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I know you have this car now, this New Edge.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your first car? What did you start out with?
We had a bracket S10. We started out with it, and bracket racing is just not what I want to do. I also had a Fox body Mustang, and my opinion in bracket racing, it takes too long. And you don't go nowhere. You set a time and you run that time. That's it. There's no PB,
Mm-hmm.
on bracket racing. And the component that's right beside you, it's just the same thing. We got to run that time.
I mean, I like the index racing. I mean, I get a kick out of it because it's still heads up racing for the most part. The biggest thing I do get out of actual bracket racing is the guys doing the wops, trying not to break out on top
trying not to
end.
break out, yeah.
That's what. Every time I ever go to a bracket race, a lot of times I'll just sit in the bleachers just so I can watch down track to see if the guy's looking back at the guy beside him. If he's dialed in a 10 and the guy coming beside him down like a 6, he's looking back over his shoulder to see if he's coming, to see if he needs to hit the brake. So I mean, but yeah,
Maybe we should have a bracket racer on at some point. He can explain to us why they enjoy it so much.
Man, it's because if you whop 2 or 3 times, you got that much more on the table, and
Right.
you could just
That's correct.
if you beat him. If you beat someone special, one that's usually on their number, and you beat them, and you're sitting there whopping, I mean, I can only imagine how that feels. So you did the bracket race for a while with the S10, and you had the Fox, and then
Yeah, we built a Fox as well, from ground up, a little small block, no, just all motor, and me and my pops went out and we bought him a Mustang and built him one too, and it's just not where I wanted to be. I wanted to go faster. So I bought a tube chassis 79 Camaro, and we drove 24 hours straight
yeah,
and bought it and put a big block in it, and it was not my cup of tea. You chop the top. I'm a bigger person in the shoulders, It's just not where I want to be. And so we sold it, moved through life, and me and my wife got married with the 70 Camaro split bumper. And I told myself, I said, I'm going to build a big block, and I want to put some nitrous on it, and I want to go out there and play with the boys. So we done all the 4-link suspension and set it up. And I went out there and drove it, and about the 3rd time of driving it on motor, it picked the wheels up in the air, and first wheelie ever. Best of my knowledge, let off the gas. I let off the gas, and it smashed everything in the front. So we bring it back to the shop, and the guys I was dealing with before on fixing the front end was like months and months out. I said, I can't do this. So I ended up knowing somebody that had a Mustang for sale, which is this one current, and best friends, and I begged him, please let me buy the car. Just a rolling body, but it was nice. Please let me buy it. So we talked it out. I got the car, and he said, what's the game plan with it? I said, I want to put a turbo on it, and I wanted to drive it. And it was supposed to be a daily cruiser, once in a while track, and it turned into a whole lot more far-fetched. Never pulled the Sawzall out on my car. My car's still fully interior, radio, everything. Caged for safety because, of course, I got 5 kids. Don't want to get hurt. But at the end of the day, that streetcar subject, we still run.
Mm-hmm. What would be your definition of a streetcar?
My definition of streetcar would be if you can drive it 15 to 30 miles, don't run hot, no stops, other than fuel. Headlights, turn signals, the basics. This whole heat rule, I don't believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're hot, roll the window down. If you're cold, roll the windows up.
Mm-hmm.
Power windows, if it come equipped with it, it's got to have it. Fully interior. Got to have fully interior.
Mm-hmm.
Weight rule, the 3,700 pounds, a lot of us can't meet it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 35 would be acceptable. 34, 35, somewhere around, maybe 33 would be acceptable. But 37, your average cars around here, street cars, unless it's like a 2010 and above, all of them's less than 3,500 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with that. But if you can make the cruise, you should be able to run it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fishy subject.
Yeah. I've said it on the podcast a couple times. Most guys, what it boils down to is whatever their car can run, or whatever their car is, that's a street car. Anything that's faster than their car, that's not a street car.
Right.
That's a pro mod. That's a whatever you want to call it.
I believe every one of us, if it's a street car, let's go find a restaurant or somewhere, drive them to it, wait, get your food, and drive it back.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can find out who's really a street car. If it runs hot, you're out.
Yeah, if you have to put a jump box on it,
you're out.
You're out.
Yep. The fuel deal, I understand. Factory tank, stuff like that. I used to say, if it's got to have a street car, it's got to have a factory tank.
Well, you just swapped over fuels too, right?
Yes,
As
I
I
did.
understand it.
Yes.
Okay, so you're what, methanol?
I'm methanol now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one of those tricky areas, right? Where some guys go, well, if you're on methanol, you're not a street car. Right.
Yeah, in some points, but the running hot situation,
Mm-hmm.
bulls. But if you can't buy it out of the pump, technically it's not a race car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a street car.
Mm-hmm.
It's a race car. That's where I stand with that.
Yeah. Well, now I followed that rule actually religiously last year. Everything I got was out of a pump. Not a single bit of it came out of a can. That might have been part of what bit us in the butt, was that the ethanol ratio was off.
Right.
Come to find out, pretty much all the other guys were all getting it out of a can. So I was like,
I was with you on that.
Yeah.
Because I had pump.
Yeah, they want to get me on, a heater core rule.
Yeah.
But none of them wanted to run the fuel that we were supposed to run, or half of them didn't have the front seats in it, and because the whole full interior is kind of a debate, right? The back seat delete okay?
Right.
Do you need to have both front seats in it? I don't know. If the rules don't specifically say that I have to, I'm going to pull it out, because that's, and like an S550, that's 60 pounds.
Right.
Those seats are heavy.
Yes, they are.
So it's like, if the rules don't say I have to have it, that sucker's coming right out.
Yep.
But if the rules say it has to be there, all right, she's in.
I agree.
So you have a name for this car yet, or?
No, we actually don't.
Oh, yeah?
This is actually a newer well, it's older now, but it was a newer picture before it crashed. This was actually the 3 weeks prior. We actually put air to water on it, and we went to fastest PB with the air to water on it, and then we decided to change it to methanol. You want to go faster, and there's just a lot of things in it here and there. That Dominator does so much more, so we had to switch over. We didn't like the look of the car the way it sat, with the air to water. There's just some things you got to bite the bullet on. So we did what we had to do, and finally the hood's back on it.
Yeah.
So it looks so much better.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. We've been fighting bugs.
Not pulling a Cletus, no hood look.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer nice,
Yeah.
clean look on the car. Yeah.
So it's coming around slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming around.
So what class do you normally end up in right now?
We're gonna run a limited this year.
Okay.
Same as, but we'll see where it stands. I still want the street car stuff. And a lot of Rockingham racing stuff hasn't put anything on the methanol list. That's why we done it. So
I
that's
think they're doing like a Friday night streetcar class or something like that. Yeah.
That's kind of where we want to see it.
Yeah, I know, and like I think we mentioned last podcast, I know Glot's got something coming up.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to make it happen, so.
Yeah, they got a 28th race on Thursday nights they're planning on doing, and, Josh and I are talking about putting together a streetcar class. We're trying to work out rules. That's where the 3,700-pound thing came up from.
Right.
And a lot of it just comes down to how do you make it fair, right? Or as fair as you can make it, right? Because, I know a lot of the guys that go to Galot regularly that would want to be in that class, they're all 3,900-pound cars because they're still full interior S550s and Camaros and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to take one of those. And, a lot of them are single power adder, Whipples and stuff like that. It's hard to take one of those cars and then line it up against this thing and say, yeah, that's fair.
Well, that's the crazy part. You look at this car and you say this thing weighs 2,500 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I've told people over and over several times we can scale it out.
Oh,
3,000 pounds, 3,200 pounds of me in it, and to push it I was happy with it.
Yeah, but a great example for me last year, that Dodge Challenger I ran a lot, Donald, right?
Yep.
Love that guy, right? Both of our cars are making about the same horsepower, roughly. That Hemi he had was turning out a whole bunch. He was a dual power adder as well, right?
Right.
The big difference was I had 500 pounds on him. That was the big difference between our two cars, right?
Weight is horsepower.
Weight is horsepower, exactly. And so that's where when I'm looking at a rule set like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna. I don't want to, let a 3,200-pound car go up against a 4,000-pound car.
Right.
Because
you got to have a weight standard, That makes life fair.
You got to make it where people come out there and have good, fun events, too. You don't want a guy with a Supra not to want to come out there and just try his luck and have some fun with you guys. I mean, he's got to feel like he fits in a little bit. I mean...
Well, those new Supras are a bit heavier than you might think they are, actually. I think they're 3,900 pounds, actually.
But you want them guys to come out and line up beside you and say, I'm going to try him, even if they think you might get him by, a tenth or two or a couple of tenths.
Oh, guaranteed.
At least want to give it a shot.
At the end of the day, I'm not running the component.
Yeah.
I'm running the car.
That's right.
It's A to B. It's got to go A to B and straight.
You're running your lane, and, I mean, I've seen many guys. I mean, they have cars that are a second and a half faster. They get out about mid-track, miss the shift. Something go wrong, the other guy goes right on by him. I mean, it's just the nature of racing.
Yep.
So, question for you: on race day, what's your responsibility at the track as far as the car is concerned?
You check the air pressure in the tires.
Check the fuel.
He's
the man of unloading it, loading it up.
It's a lot easier to get him in and out of the window than it is you, I'm guessing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Making sure he gets to the driver's meetings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a job, and it's not a one person.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you. If it's two people, it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd recommend anybody that wants to build a race car, have a team set up first.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of times we get there and we're all shorthanded, and we're having to push two cars back and make our rounds to get back to the track to drive our street cars. It's tough. Sometimes it's tough, but we make it happen. And this is the man that does all the help, filling the cars, checking the air, making sure the four-wheeler's there, the golf cart, whatever it is to help push, and let's do it.
Well,
push car. I don't know if that's a street car if you got to push it back. I don't know.
Depends on how quick. I mean,
We drive ours back.
Idling is fine, but a couple of the races that we've attended this year so far, they wanted us Jacksonville, prime example. We run the race, and they wanted us back to back to back. We had a 10, 15, 20-minute cool down. The transmissions can't handle it, on a street car. So what we did this year, we actually made a push bar because there wasn't any rule requirement. If it is, we'll have to drive it back. We'll just brake. We're not going to race it. No need to tear the transmission up. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't have a rule requirement, we're pushing ours back.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Just so you can add that extra time of cooling it off.
That's it.
That's the main thing.
That's what we say.
I've seen guys make a break on getting to the next round. I mean, you come there to race, and there's a difference too. There's a lot of guys that can set their car up to go drive for the weekend, but you change a few things on it. Where, I mean, honest to God, if you got your car set up to go down the track and you go out and hit some of our major roads, you're going to tear some shit up if you don't have your suspension right.
Oh,
I mean, it's just the way it is.
100%.
I mean, you could have your QA1s or your shocks adjusted a certain way, and you hit a pothole, and you got a $3,000 set of shocks just ruined.
Gone.
Well,
it's kind of it's a fine situation on that deal. I mean, I get it, but to run down the track versus running that, you're not going to, if you got it set up for the street, it's not going to run that ET that you're used to running. So that's hard on the driver to decide on how you're going to have that car set up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's you guys drove through the roads in our neighborhood. They're nice and smooth and all that stuff. I took my neighbor for just a drive around the loop here, and I didn't change my suspension settings, and you thought we were on a dirt road, cars shaking it all to bits because we have this thing so tight to go down the track.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not changing it just to drive around my neighborhood.
That's right.
So as long as everyone else is on that, because if the guy beside you doesn't change his settings and he's out there beating the crap out of himself going down the street, and you've got yours to where it'll actually absorb some of that. When you come out and make a pass about 60, 40, 50 feet, you're gonna blow the tires almost every time.
Every time.
It's just
if it don't stand up.
Yeah.
So it's the nature of the biz.
You gonna try and make it out to any of the streetcar takeovers this year, or
we're planning on being there?
Yeah, Charlotte is just I love running out of Z-Max.
It's more of the family time, with the boys.
Yep.
Getting out. It's a slow pace. I'm used to it. Let's get it in. Let's do it. Let's go home.
Yeah.
But out there, we had a blast. It rained last year, but we still had a blast. We played cards. We done anything we could do. Go-kart riding. We done anything we could do to pass the time.
Yeah, I felt bad for them,
yes.
right? Because it rained the day before, so then they had to fit in the roll racing and the drag racing all in one day.
Yes.
And honestly, they got the roll racing done by noon. I was very proud that they were able to get that done.
Well, they kept it rolling.
They kept. They got all of our qualifying done, and then as soon as round one started, it was breakage after breakage, and
100%.
That Camaro went into the wall.
Yep.
Hard. That other Camaro let go its transmission. Two Chevys, man, just back to back. And then the imports went out there, and that's really where everything went off the rails. I think, was it 2 imports going down the track?
Yep.
Just let all the guts out and just drove the rest of the way down the track. So it shut down the track for like 4 hours almost at one point, between the two of them.
That's right.
And but I mean, they got most of the classes mostly done.
Right.
So I really like Z-Max though. It's just to say that you've run there.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
that kind of a track.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And what kind of transmission do you run in your car?
Turbo 400.
And what's that come from?
Comes from a Chevy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. No, it's a hybrid as far as that goes. Yeah, it's still Ford power plant in there though. I'm sticking with that Coyote, man.
The Coyotes are bad, but at the end of the day, we can go to the grocery store and get some parts where you got to wait on yours.
I mean, I noticed your Chevy parts aren't in a Chevy body. Your Chevy parts are in a Ford body.
Most of everybody's is.
That's what he had to do to stay in the family inheritance, man. I mean, when you grow up family of a Chevy family, it's hard to convert over.
Well, I'm noticing now the SN95 and the New Edge is really becoming the new Fox body.
Yep.
Because I guess they've just kind of got to that price point now where they're cheap to get.
They are.
And what's the wheelbase on those?
I have no clue. Don't even remember.
Yeah. Well, as we're working on the new setup on mine, we're all sorts of stuff, and guys are like, "Oh, wheelbase this and wheelbase that," and I'm like, "I don't know. I bought the car."
Right. I agree.
Yeah. And it's like I know a longer wheelbase will help, not to wheelie. Maybe Turbo D should learn something from that. But you get too long of a wheelbase like mullet, right, and then it has its own problems there.
Well, this year has been the toughest on this car since we put it back together.
That reminds me. What's some of the wildest things that's happened between events? I know you said you had 3 weeks to get the car together for Kiss Race. What's some of the wildest things that's happened on the way to an event or in between rounds that you can recall?
The only thing I can really recall is running out of ice. That was the worst thing ever with having that cooler on the car. Was running out of ice and having to find somebody or stealing all of our ice out of our drinks when we got back. It was hot. That's pretty much been about it. The car's always been A to B. This past year has been the toughest with this thing, fighting it. It's always rode out, but I guess add more power, trying to shove that power down. So the wheeling. The wheeling has been the toughest. Yeah, not sure if it's, I don't know. We're finally getting it figured out. Went to Rockingham this past weekend and went A to B. Wasn't the fastest, but it went. Especially on a new setup. And we were happy with the 60 and how it got out. Car later on the 330. Upgrading fuel lines, upgrading this. But we're getting there. And we'll be set for Jacksonville. We're going to ride.
All right.
We're going to show up or show out. One of the two.
You might not want to hang around that Turbo D guy too much, though. You might be doing wheelies.
Oh, that's my
past
buddy.
the 200 foot.
It's okay. We'll sit it down, and hopefully our component, we got enough time, we'll grab that problem button.
Yeah.
And we'll try you out.
Yeah. Have you looked at adding like the skid plates to the front of it so it doesn't, flatten out the car completely?
We haven't made it that far yet. Hertford actually put a pretty good hurting on the K member and stuff, but we got it all fixed.
Hertford has, I've seen some of the biggest wheelies there.
It's been
for a little in the woods kind of track. Speaking of Turbo D again, Thurman Braxton. I've seen him on the hitch mount on the back of it.
Parachute mount.
Twice
in a row.
Yeah.
And they went back. I talked to them. They went back and added like 50 to 100 pounds of weight to the very front of that truck. Took some tune out of it. But I was down track actually for his second run. I was actually down there trying to get parachute picks. And they had just sprayed the track because someone had oiled it.
Yeah.
So they had just sprayed it again right before he come out to do another pass. And he, like I said, he had took power out and added weight. Well, they had just prepped the track again.
Maybe we should.
So he was the first one out on that fresh. It was just nasty.
Maybe we should ratchet strap David to the front of it. That'd help keep it down.
Yeah.
But David's talking about climbing in that course some later this year, from what I'm hearing.
We've been seeing it already, and but everybody talks about the little truck.
But man,
heavy or whatever, little heavier.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, we want to get back to your car and getting the front end down, but some of these gentlemen you guys run against, I mean, some of them are legends. I wouldn't never want to pull that guy. I watch all y'all whenever you race, and there's people like Thurman Braxton, even Michelle Brinkley. Some of those folks, even Jenny we spoke about earlier. They're heavy hitters in their game. I mean, you don't want to line up beside them, even if you think you might have some power on them. You better have it together.
Yeah.
So you are working on your car to get the front end down. Is there any changes you've done recently to get that under control, or?
We actually done a little tightening up, and changing our power as far as it coming in or hitting it, harder from home. And I think we've got it pretty well maintained. But as far as like you just spoke about drawing the biggest bear, I'd rather draw the biggest bear. It gives me my competition to see where we're at. We may get run down, but at the end of the day, I can still go, shake hands with them and hey, appreciate sitting where we were sitting.
And then you're drinking cold drinks out of the cooler because you haven't used up all your ice.
That's right, true. But now
it's a win-win, man.
That's right. Now it's gone. We don't have to worry about the whole ice cooler box.
I know you said you'll be running some of the 252 stuff. We had some guests on the Pitmans a couple weeks ago. They were talking about going and running other events, and they said it actually went down to Orangeburg, I think, South Carolina, and ran an event. They said they learned a lot from doing that. So you were talking about Z-Max. Do you have other stuff you're talking about running in this year, or
not. We're not really prepared. We just play it by ear and let it go. We just try to get out of our territory a little bit and go out. Because being around here, it's hard to set your car up for one track and then go to another one, and you're all over the place. Like our group's mentioned before, why go to a track we have to turn it down? We're not looking to down it. We're looking to bring it up. We're looking to go faster. And these tracks that in our local area, where we live at in Kinston, KDS, love our hometown track. But there's just certain things you can't do there that you can do in Rockingham or Hertford or, Outer Banks. There's been some good ones. But we're not looking the best of the best, but we're looking something we can put it down and go.
Yeah. I grew up with KDS being the slick track, the Mickey Thompson track. That's what I grew up at being. It's always just been a really good track for that. These radios you guys are running on, they're fast. I mean, I first got introduced to radios watching Lights Out.
Yes.
I don't know about you guys. Them guys were just putting down towns like amazing. I think I really got into it maybe 2018, 2019. Really started following what's going on down there. Probably like you guys, Street Outlaws introduced it to us. I believe it was Big Chief. That's the first time I ever really heard about Donald Long and Lights Out. Some of the guys you guys race with, though, they've been going down there for years to South Georgia Motorsport Park. But Donald Long just had an event at Rockingham. So
Battle of the Thrones.
So that stuff is coming up our way. I know Eastern North Carolina. I mean, it's all over the whole nation, but I really feel like in Eastern North Carolina we've got a big group of racers, and that's where some of the biggest races are starting to happen at now.
Yeah.
I mean, from back at the track even to like Donald Long coming. Z-Max. I mean, we got some really good races.
Yeah. I think part of wanting to run at other events and other tracks is you want to run different people.
That's right.
I like 252, right? I've run that for the last couple of years. But when you're in a class like that, you're going to run the same, 5 or 6 guys, and some classes are bigger than that. My class has always been right around the, between 6 and 8 car class. You're going to run those same guys over and over and over again. And you just kind of learn, okay, this is what I need for this guy, this is what I need for this guy, this is what I need for this guy. I really want to beat that guy, Justin Taylor.
We're going to get him on.
He's actually agreed to come on. I've been messaging back and forth with him. We're just trying to work out a time where he can come on with his dad.
Let's see if we get a blew up picture up there of him gapping you.
We'll just won't be hard because there's lots of them.
Wow.
Well, he's one of the few guys I never ever managed to beat. And I probably ran him 5-6 times one season.
Right.
And just every time he would just manage to keep we were running a 590 bracket. It was 2 years ago for a 252, and I've never seen someone who could be more consistent. But he grew up as a bracket racer. He's been doing that since he was, in his diapers, and so he can put a car exactly where it needs to be every single time, and it's annoying.
It's all about the reaction in the 60.
That's it. I had a train of thought that I was going on, and then it just disappeared completely.
I still want to just talk about what he's got coming up. And so he said he's got the car dialed in. I mean, and I think we had Dorenzo on earlier, and you said you guys are working on cars as a team. You know how many cars you guys are bringing to that race as a team, or?
Right now, I think we have about 4 or 5 of us just bringing cars. It's going to be a tough battle, and the track prep is going to be on kill. So you can pretty much throw the kitchen sink at it and let it ride.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole game plan.
I heard that track was real bad for getting rear ends.
Yeah.
You got experience with that, Nate? You got any experience with that?
Maybe. 3 axles later. Yeah.
But, I mean, you get a good track like that close to home. It's pretty cool to get down there and run that. I'm looking forward to seeing some outside guys come in and run against that series because I know this year the 252 isn't sanctioned.
Yeah, there's no sanction fees there. So
come in, pay your entry fees, and see how you add up. I know I'd love to see some of those guys from Piedmont make it over this way. I mean, I haven't been to Piedmont in a while, There's some fast cars over that way as well. But I mean, like I said, it's a learning curve for them to learn what the back of your car looks like, or
Oh, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot more taillights than I've seen, in a while. But at the end of the day, you can't do nothing but
well,
upgrade.
you can't lose. You can't lose at Jacksonville because he's going to get some pictures printed out and have on. Whatever car beats you, he's just going to get a picture of it. I'll see if I can get a shot of it. And that way you can just print them out and have them posted all over the house.
We've learned a valuable lesson out of crashing the one and only time. If I load that car up every day, it was a success.
Yep.
Amen.
I'm big on that. I can lose all day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I'm going home to my wife and my kids. We're happy.
Yep.
Well, that's a couple of things I gauge as far as the success of any event. Nate knows I like almost all of them. I mean, every once in a while I'll go hit a bracket race up just because I know a lot of the people. There's a lot of people that race with you guys. They have another car that actually do run bracket. But a lot of times they do that just so they can stay on their reaction time game.
That's right.
I mean, just stay in the feel of getting in a car. But the gauge of any good event is everyone getting there, having a good time, the event running as smoothly as possible, aside from leaks or damage that happens, and everybody getting back home safely with their cars. I mean, that's a good event to me, regardless of who wins.
Mm-hmm.
You're mainly going to remember how good of a time you had, if the people ran the event pretty good, and if you got back home safe. We got lots of stories of people and guests where they had trouble on the way there, on the way home, but it's really about just getting there, running safe, and getting back home.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
You ever had any fun staging battles with anybody, or you usually just do your thing and get the car in?
I normally just do my thing. That one time in Rockingham, I had to do a little, like I was going to roll in type deal to get the man to go in because I felt like he was the same guy that was giving me a fit.
Mm-hmm.
Big ordeal. He didn't want to split anything. We tried. When he found out who his component was and the pass that we put down was a pretty decent pass before him, he wanted to come and start talking then. And then, we tried to do our way, and he was real big-headed, Nothing against anybody, but nobody's perfect. Nobody. At the end of the day, you got to drive yours, I got to drive mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just left it at that. My guys did what they did and put me in, and I let go of the button, and it was over from jump. But had he not been a big head about it, I'm all for it. Let's split from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wins something. We go home, but it's life.
I'm not a big splitter, I'll be honest. Unless you're one of my teammates, I don't really. Splitting is just not something that's in my nature.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine. The only time I had, a fight over that at the track, it was only second round. It wasn't even final rounds yet. And guy wanted me to split. I was like, no. I mean, if you're not my teammate, basically, I'm not going to split with you. And that's fine. That's just been my rule of thumb. And I said, no, I don't want to split with you. And he's like, well, I'm going to protest you. I'm going to, because you don't have the heater box in your car. And I was like, well, we're past first round, so you're not allowed to protest me. He's like, well, you're against the rules, so I can protest you whenever I want. And he's just trying to force me into splitting. And I was like, that's not how it works. You can't do that. It turned into this whole big ordeal because apparently it had been a discussion with some of the guys earlier about getting me kicked out of the class. They decided not to do it. They're like, no, let Nate run. It's not going to be a problem, but just nobody bring it up. And then this guy brought it up, and so a bunch of the guys were upset about that. But it
the way I look at things, if it's going to cause a problem, don't do it. At the end of the day, if you won, it's a big ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the heat box goes, I would love to have put exhaust all the way out the back on mine.
Mm-hmm.
Left at E85 and run true street.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, why? That's the topic. Why?
Well, the whole reason I had removed the heater box was because I was building it to the 252 rule set, which didn't require heater box. But the Renegade rule set, which came out much later, did. I had already pulled all that out and sold it.
Right.
Right? So I had reached out to Billy and Lance, because Lance is really the one who was building that rule set, and I said, hey, it's gone. I sold it. I'm not putting it back in the car. I was like, I can't run that class. And both of them were like, well, when you get the car done, weigh it, and we'll, based on the weight of your car, we'll say yay or nay. And, they're like, no, it weighs enough. It's not that big of a deal. They let me run.
Right.
And I just don't like being strong-armed into splitting.
And that should be where it ends at, man. Whoever is running an event or putting it on, you got an issue, you take it to them. And that's the final answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
I was even at an event the other day where there was a jump, and there was another guy there that usually runs a light. They were actually doing all flashlight, and there wasn't a protest, but there was one guy calling it, and he called it a jump. And I went and showed it to another guy that he does that. That's what he does all the time. I won't say names. And he even confirmed the same thing. And I was like, I just wanted you to know, because I know you're part of this event, what was going on if it come up. And I said, I know they respect you, and I'm pretty sure they respect him. But just in case, because I know if they go to him, and then they come to you, and both of you have the same conclusion, it's done deal. And if it's not, get in your car and go home.
That's right.
You didn't need to be here anyways. You just came to cause problems. You didn't come to have fun.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing. But I will say this, and I'll say this to anyone listening. If you go to a race and there's someone putting on a race and the rules are stated, and if you got an issue with something, you bring it up before first round.
Mm-hmm.
Once the first set of cars take the beams and leave that tree, those rules are locked in, point blank.
That's true.
And if you don't respect that, you don't respect the race master putting the race on. I mean, it's just the way it is. Once those first pair of cars go down in that class that you're running and nobody said nothing, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I learned out of all of this, I've learned one valuable lesson that I've always taught when I was younger. Don't go in big-headed thinking you're going to win, because money isn't everything.
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you. The times we have out at the track, everybody, our whole crew may be out of race. We'll still sit and watch everybody else and gather up and help,
Mm-hmm.
That's the main part, in my opinion. You make more money, you can come back out, but if you're coming out there, be competitive. Don't think you're, coming to win. You're coming to take everything home.
Yes, that's what I love about what I do. I'm grateful you racers. I mean, the time you take to prepare all week to get everything you need to take to the track. You load up your car, secure down your cargo, you get the extra cash you need for the entries. I mean, everything. Making sure you got all the kids in the car and getting to the track, the race. Then I'm able to go out there with 10-5 life. One day I will be racing, and I will put both of y'all on the trailer, Lord willing. That's my goal one day. But right now I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to go out and capture memories of you guys with your families, and it's just the overall aspect. I get to see a different side of the lens of seeing you guys race and in your cars, and even in the moment, sometimes I can catch you in there checking all your switches, make sure they're on before you get ready to take off, checking your seat belts. And there's just so much that goes into it. I think it's just it's a full circle between the racers making all the preparations to get there, all the fans, the spectators getting there, and the staff doing their part, even Dorenzo that we had on previously. It takes everybody to come out and do their part for all of us to go out and have a good time, take our minds off the real world for just a little while, and have some fun away from the BS. If you're coming out there to bring extra BS, I mean,
stay home.
Stay home. I mean, we want you there and be competitive. I mean, talk junk. I mean, say Fords are going to lose every round, even if you never beat the guy ever.
Mm-hmm.
But just that extra stuff, man. Ain't none of us no bigger than the other one. We're all out there to have a good time and let the cars do the talking.
Yeah. Well, you made a point earlier that I agree with 100%, and I try to do it myself. Is every time you race somebody, afterwards, whether you won or lost, go find them, shake their hand afterwards.
That's right.
Right? I've joked, I said, the only time I hate somebody else is when that first light comes on. All I want to do is chop your head off, and then as soon as those lights come on at the end, we're done.
Oh, that's agreeable. When
Yeah.
best friend or not, when I get
Shush you.
When I get beside you,
Mm-hmm.
it's all jokes aside.
Mm-hmm.
It's business. At the other end, may the best man win.
Mm-hmm.
I'll shake your hand, but I'm going home,
Mhm.
regardless.
Yeah.
So whether it be I'm going to the final round or I'm loading up, I'll watch everybody else. But at the end of the day, the car's still going in the trailer.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's called happiness. If
Yeah.
you can't find your spot in that, you're at the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's only been a couple guys I've raced with, like, afterwards, and, like, I could have lost. And I go up to shake their hand afterwards, and they're just, no.
No need in it.
No, I'm like, why you got such a big head that, you're better than me, right? And I'm not better than anybody else,
Yeah, because either racing or this world will find a way to humble you.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, there's 16 cars, 32 cars, and there's one winner,
Oh.
right? We're all going to lose a whole lot more than we're going to win,
Guaranteed.
When everyone goes home safe, every single person there is a winner. That's my take on
Yep.
it.
Load
Me
the
too.
car.
One just goes home with their pockets not quite as light as what they were whenever they first got there.
Well, that's my forte on it. If you're coming out there thinking you're going to get rich, don't start.
Nope.
Don't start.
One of my favorite sayings is, do you know how to make a small fortune in racing? Start with a large one.
Mm-hmm.
The only guys I know really in drag racing that actually make some decent money are the guys that go by those 10-second bracket cars, and they just come out there and drop about 10 pounds of air, and they just go out there and their biggest thing is they got to make sure their AC is off. They run their time, and then leave on the way home and get something to eat. So, I mean, if you're doing anything above that in this game, it's going to cost you.
We need to figure out who those sponsors are that are sponsoring all these bracket races. Because I see like $50,000
Yes.
to win, $100,000 to win. I'm like, we need to get some of those sponsors over to list racing, which I agree with you is much more exciting than a bracket race.
Yes.
Get them to put those pots out there. Because, I mean, if we were going out there and they're like, hey, by the way, it's $20,000 to win for this class.
We'd fight a lot harder.
The races I think would be a whole lot tighter.
Yeah.
Because everyone would be on their A game.
Right.
Well, something I want to talk over real quick. We haven't highlighted it a lot. I know you're into racing, but you also work on cars and stuff as well. Do you do much with race cars yourself? I know you've got some help with your car, I'm sure, but as far as doing some minor stuff on them, or
Well, that's a big topic because the hardest thing in life is to work on everybody else's stuff and then bring mine in and want to work on it. So 9 times out of 10, all my guys can tell you, I'd rather go work on their cars than I would mine, and mine would be the last one, bringing to the table. That's fine with me, but at the end of the day, if you're a mechanic, the last thing you want to do is work on your mess. It's like a man that says they paint that paints the inside of their house to be incomplete with paint. A flooring man, the inside of their house would be incomplete with flooring. So it's not really a win-win situation. We work on everybody else's cars, we love it, but when it comes down to mine, it's one of them things. We'll push it to the back burner until it's time, the day of.
Well, as far as your automotive shop, do you do much stuff? What kind of stuff do you do there? Is a little bit of everything?
Yeah,
maintenance.
We do a little bit of everything. We're not really big into oil changers or stuff like that. We're into bigger, changing motor and transmissions, timing belts, water pumps, timing chain. We do head gaskets. A lot of multi things. When it comes down to a race car, a man has got what he wants and is looking for what he wants. Best thing to do is go to a fabrication or somebody that does strictly racing. And I've learned that over the years, Depending on, you can read somebody's personality and what they want by their body language and how they live. It's just not worth getting into. Because as everybody knows, you can't warranty a race car.
Nope.
You can't.
Nope.
So at the end of the day, I'd rather fix your family vehicle that you can drive millions of miles away. Warranty that. But a race car, they're a dime a dozen. There's shops that build cars. Braxton's Fabrication. My buddy, Jason Braswell at BPF. You want something fabricated or something built, go that way. But I'm a basic, mechanic as it comes.
You do the racing for fun.
Yeah,
that takes your mind away from the day-to-day,
Oh, it's so nice when one of the guys
performance
call
stuff.
and say, hey, we're going to go racing Thursday. I'll go in and I'll tell my wife, hey, I'm leaving Thursday. No warnings, no nothing. And she's all confused. Why? We're going racing. That's a mind easing. I love it.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm into this sport. It just when I go through the gates of that track, it just takes me to another world for a little while.
Yes.
And if it's not doing that for you,
I mean, I've said before, Galad is my home track, and it's when you have your home track and you go there, it's a little bit like, oh, I'm home.
Right. Right.
It's like this is my happy place, if you want to call it that. And I love going to that track, because like I know, at this point I pretty much know everyone that works there, by name, and they know me, and I can talk junk with a lot of the other racers.
They'll say, "Man,
that.
who let the ugly guy in?"
Yeah, they let him back in again. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that,
No.
Yeah.
As far as your hometown track, all my tracks are hometown. When I'm comfortable everywhere I go. There's sometimes we might get uptight, about something happening, but at the end of the day, we're all there doing the same thing.
Like I said, you spoke something earlier about character. Just having that good character, you can kind of sense it when someone walks by you. What's up?
Yeah.
But yeah, even he, man, I'm looking for the day that he might climb in a car and Nate, you might get some restitution for him jumping a light or something, man.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
I hate to beat up on a minor, but I'm going to have to do it probably.
Well, hopefully in 2025, you bring that Ford out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens,
Hopefully mine's done by then.
Right.
She's been under the knife for a little while now, and we're making progress.
Well,
best I can say.
Last thing, I want to ask you one more thing. So, what are you doing as far as right now for safety on your car? I know your car's gotten faster. What's some of the latest safety things you've done?
We got to upgrade, a few things on the car. As far as safety, we do have the cage and stuff in it. We're looking to upgrade the cage a little more. The funny car cage, hoot part of it. Just anything that somebody would recommend,
If I could make a recommendation, since you are running methanol on the car, put a fire system on it. Especially because, as we all know, methanol is invisible when it burns, right? And, I love these hometown tracks, but not all of them are equipped for methanol fires.
Right.
So just for your safety, I would recommend putting something on it just to, in case something happens, put that fire out.
Right. That's agreeable.
Yeah. You don't never know. I mean, I've seen racers where and that's something I want to express on the channel while we got just a quick chance on that. I mean, any racer that hasn't tried getting out the passenger door of their car, do it. Mm-hmm. As soon as you hear this, pause it, go get in your car and climb out the passenger door, and that'll kind of help you understand why. I mean, if you ever get into the wall on the left hand side of your car, if you can't get over that shifter, you can't get out over your electronics and get out that right hand side easily. That's the reason you want stuff like that.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, I know some racers that practice getting out of their car blindfolded, so that they can, if in case the car's full of smoke and they can't see, that way they know they can do it.
And if you are one of these safety companies, we are still looking for sponsors here at Everything in Racing. So, we've had the man for a good while now. I've learned a lot about him growing up.
Another good podcast.
He's already a good friend of mine. He's in the Chevy family. So
yeah, definitely rooting for you guys this year. Don't go changing just to please me, okay?
Nah, he's not going to change. He's doing his thing.
Yeah. Just as long as you understand, I'm going to talk crap right back to you.
Oh, he's
I don't know.
And also, you started it.
Oh yeah, he's a very good understander.
Yeah.
But you just got to cheer the guy on, keep his head right.
That's the main thing. If you come in to the track and you're upset and you're, 9 times out of 10 it's not gonna turn out right. But you come in headstrong, pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yep.
Good deal, man.
All right, gentlemen. I think we're gonna wrap it up there. As always, I'm Nate the Fast Plumber.
I'm Ernie from 10-5 Live.
And where can they follow you guys at?
I'm Tyler.
And any social medias they can follow you at, or no, you don't want anyone
Slow
following
Cars TV.
Slow Car TV. There you go.
Well, if you're still listening, our hundreds of listeners, make sure you like, subscribe, and share.
Yep.
And we'll catch you on the next podcast.
All right. See you guys later. Don't forget to sign the hood.
Gotcha.